Hey everyone, my name is David.
And I'm Ro.
And we are full-time RVers that travel the country in our 24-foot travel trailer behind us. And we carry 141 gallons of fresh water with us. And we always get questions whenever we mention how much water we have on us. People are always asking, how? How do you carry that much water with you, especially when you only have a 24-foot travel trailer?
The reason we have so much water on us on any given day is because we boondock almost exclusively. We are currently boondocking basically at the top of a mountain, all alone up here, and if we didn't have this much water, we would have to be driving somewhere to fill our water tank all the time, and that's just a big pain. And a lot of the times when we're out boondocking in epic locations like this, water is pretty far away. So what we do instead is we haul 2 weeks worth of water with us so that we can stay 2 weeks at a boondocking spot.
We do take some measures to conserve water. You know, we're not just using it haphazardly as if we had unlimited water if we were at an RV park with full hookups, but we don't take very drastic measures because, you know, we still wanted to be able to do dishes, a little bit of laundry, take showers, cook with water, because we're out here for 2 weeks. We still want to be able to do all those things. So instead of taking drastic measures and being very stingy with our water, our solution was just to carry a ton of it. Before we get into exactly how we carry all that water though, I want to tell you about this video's sponsor, and that is 3-in-1's Trailer Hitch Gel Lube. Now before every single trip, Ro and I lubricate our truck's ball mount to ensure smooth operation and to prevent against damage. 3-in-1 Trailer Hitch Gel Lube provides a thick protective coating that reduces friction and wear on hitch balls. It makes for easy connecting and disconnecting and leads to a quieter ride. It helps prevent rust for up to 1 year, helping to extend the life of the ball and hitch. When Ro and I first hit the road as full-time RVers, we had no idea that we're supposed to lubricate the hitch ball before each trip, and that resulted in our original ball mount wearing out extremely fast. It had all sorts of deep galling into the metal, and it was extremely hard to disconnect our trailer from our truck once we got to the campsite. But ever since we started using 3-in-1's Trailer Hitch Gel Lube, we've had none of those issues. Now back to how we carry all that water.
Like we said before, we have the capacity to carry 141 gallons of fresh water, and in our tiny 24-foot travel trailer, you can imagine that not all of that carrying capacity is at our trailer. Our trailer does, however, have a rather large freshwater holding tank at 54 gallons, but you're probably wondering, where are the other 87 gallons of fresh water? And they're right here in the bed of our truck. Our truck has a long bed on it with a camper shell, which means that all of the things that we need to travel that we can't fit in the storage bays of our camper, we're able to fit in the bed of our truck, including 87 gallons of fresh water.
We actually just changed our water storage setup here in the bed of the truck recently, and the old way allowed us to carry 118 gallons, but the new way gave us an extra 23 gallons, and it saved space in the bed of our truck also. And the old way is we just had a ton of these 6-gallon jerry cans. We bought these at Walmart, and we had just a bunch of them. They took up a ton of space, and it was really frustrating because these had to be at the back of the truck near the tailgate so that we could get to them easily. When we switched our setup, we decided to keep 2 of these just in case, for whatever reason, we needed the portability that these jerry cans offer, and we also had just a little extra room, so these gave us an extra 12 gallons as well, and I'll take all the water I can get. Our new water storage system, however, utilizes a massive 75-gallon water tank that spans the entire width of the truck bed at 50 inches wide. It's about this tall and 19 inches tall and 17 inches deep. And if you want to check it out for yourself, I'll go ahead and drop a link in the description below. I got it on Amazon, as well as where I got all of the other components for our new water system. Now we really like this setup because it's a lot more space efficient, having all of the water in one massive tank. You can see with these jerry cans, there's going to be space between them. They're not very tall, so you don't get to utilize very much of the vertical storage space. You know, we can't put things on top of the jerry cans very easily, whereas with that rectangular storage tank, we're able to set some lighter things up on top of that to make use of more vertical storage. So we're actually able to get more water into the bed of our truck and still have a little extra room, a little more room than we had before with the old setup. With this setup though, we had to solve the problem of how do we fill that tank, and then how do we use that water to then fill our trailer. Well, the way we decided to be able to fill it and drain it is we just ran these two hoses to the tank that are permanently attached to it. The tank came with two threaded ports, one at the top and one at the bottom. So this hose actually leads to the top, and all this one is really used for is just to allow air to escape or enter back into the tank as it's being drained or filled. And we just have these ball valves on it to open and close. We also utilize these caps just to make sure that, you know, as we're traveling down the road, if this check valve were to get knocked open, it's not just gonna drain all the water out into the tank. So, you know, this is just kind of a little safety measure that we took on top of that. And then this bottom hose, this like slightly shorter one, is the one that is used to drain and refill the tank. It leads to the opening port that is at the bottom of the tank. Now to fill the tank back up, it's pretty easy. All we have to do is attach, you know, any hose to this hose, and then attach the other side of that hose to, you know, whatever water spigot we are using, open the spigot, and then open both of these valves, and then water will just flow into the tank up there, and we will know that it is full once water starts to, you know, come out of this hose, which again leads to the opening that's at the top of the tank. This still leaves the issue though of how do we get the water from that tank to the trailer, and sometimes we're able to just gravity feed it in. However, other times, just due to the orientation of the truck and the trailer, maybe the truck is lower than the trailer is, or the ground is, you know, sloped in an angle that just isn't very conducive to gravity feeding. That's where this pump comes in. This is a Rec Pro water pump made for RVs. It's just a standard RV pump, 12 volt. I picked this up on Amazon as well, and I just affixed these two fittings. One is a swivel female and the other is a male. These are just the correct fittings I need to be able to attach this drain or fill hose to this side of the pump, and then I can attach a hose to this side of the pump. The, you know, water's flowing this way, and then it leads to the water fill port in our trailer. And then what I did is I soldered on a really long 20-foot of extra wire so that I could ideally power the pump by leading these alligator clips, which I also soldered on, to the, you know, batteries in the trailer itself. However, if I can't reach it for whatever reason, then I can always run these up to the truck's battery to power this pump. This pump is pretty low amperage draw. You know, it's like I said, it's a standard RV water pump. It only pulls 3.5 amps maximum when running, so it's pretty low amperage draw. And then it just runs until the RV water tank is full again. It can completely fill our RV's tank, which again is 54 gallons of fresh water, and this tank is 75. So we get about 1.5 refills on our travel trailer's tank, especially when we also utilize these two 6-gallon jerry cans. Now there are pros and cons to our old way and our new way of storing water. With our old way with a ton of jerry cans, the pro of that is that it was really simple. You know, it's just a bunch of cans, you fill them all with water, and then you just dump them into the trailer by hand. And it was very flexible. So it didn't matter how far away a spigot was. You know, sometimes we find a spigot that isn't close enough for our truck or our trailer to be near enough to fill them up with. However, with the jerry cans, we could just walk them over to the spigot, fill them up, walk them back into the truck, and throw them in there, and we're good to go. Also, with the jerry cans, it was cheaper. It was cheaper to buy like 10 of these jerry cans than it was to purchase that big tank, the water pump, all the extra hoses and wire and everything we needed for that by quite a decent margin. However, the jerry can method had some definite downfalls that I sort of touched on earlier. First off, it took up way more space than this 75-gallon tank that we have now. So with our new method, we've been able to free up some storage space while also having more water. Another big thing for us is that now the water tank, all that water storage is all the way at the front of the truck bed. So we don't have to move all these jerry cans out of the way when we want to pull things out of the bed of our truck. And now, since all that water is at the front of the truck, the weight of the water is evenly distributed between the front axle and the rear axle of the truck. Water's really heavy, especially when we're talking 75 gallons of it. So with the jerry cans, it was all like right here in the back. And that really contributed to, having the back end of the truck sag down, especially when the trailer was attached to it. So even though our new way of storing water is more expensive and it's a little more cumbersome, because we got to have the pump usually, and there's all these extra hoses that we have to mess with, it is well worth it for us to be able to have the water all the way up there, out of the way of the rest of the stuff in the bed of our truck, and to be able to carry way more water and still have more room in the bed of our truck to store all this other junk. I mean, look at it. Our truck bed is just full. So having that extra storage room, we really needed it.
Having 141 gallons of fresh water is great, but we have realized that now we have another issue. We only have 74 gallons of gray water storage, which obviously isn't 141 gallons of gray water storage. And as many of you know, we have a composting toilet, which is why we have 74 gallons of gray water storage. We don't have a black tank. We have simply combined our gray tank and our black tank together into one large gray tank. And with having 141 gallons of water, which is going to make it so that we can stay out for 2 weeks, if we use all of that and all of it goes into our gray water storage tanks, then we're still going to have to leave before our 2 weeks is up and go and find somewhere to dump. So a couple of the things that we do in order to conserve gray water storage space is whenever I do laundry outside. I have a plant-based soap for all of our clothes, and so I'm able to do all of our laundry outside, and that does use quite a bit of water when I do laundry, so that's a massive savings of water. And then if we only need to wash our hair for some reason, then we will use our outdoor shower, which is very convenient because most RVs have an outdoor shower, so that's really nice. If we are cooking, like boiling pasta in a big pot of water, then that water, instead of dumping it into the gray tank, we'll dump that water outside because there's no need for it to go into the gray tank. Because we're living in our RV, that means that I cook all the time. Basically every single meal, which means that we make a lot of dishes. And so the way that we keep all that dishwater from going into our gray tank and filling up our gray tank really quickly is I have a sink tub and I use a plant-based dish detergent in order to wash our dishes, so that when I'm done washing the dishes, I can just take that bucket of water and I can go dump it outside and not feel bad about it.
So that has been how we carry around 141 gallons of fresh water with us, allowing us to stay out on site boondocking for 2 weeks, as well as how we figured out how to make it so all that water doesn't fill up our gray water tank.
And we would love to know how you guys have enough water to stay out boondocking, or how long you boondock. And we would love to know what kind of tips you have. I mean, we are constantly evolving in our water storage. This, I think, is the third different setup that we've had. So if you have other suggestions, please leave them down below. I'm sure that other people could totally benefit from your advice.
Yeah, someone has definitely come up with a more clever solution than we have as well. These are definitely not the only 2 ways to carry around water. And you guys, if you have any water saving tips or any like gray water saving tips, drop those in the comments below as well. We would love to hear them because, like I said before, we don't really conserve our fresh water. We're super conservative on what goes into our gray tank, but not so much with the consumption of fresh water. And we could really use some help there. But that's all for this video. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.